Hi Kylo. Hello, internet. About a million years ago, I decided I was going to set myself this project where I was going to reread every book I'd ever said was my favourite book to see if they were still my favourite books, and I've only done one because I'm really good at commitment. So we're at this end of the flat because Christmas is happening over by the bookshelf. So we're here. Also because the bulb's gone. So we only have this light to read by. Yay! The next book that I've chosen to do for this project is a book that I used to read a lot when I was at school. Really young school. I was a bit of a tomboy, I think. I probably... It's such an outdated term, isn't it? Like, gender is fluid, and why gender everything? Just be who you want to be. I hated wearing dresses, I hated wearing skirts, I hated doing, like, traditional feminine things. I just wanted to be me and to not have all that kind of pressure on myself. And I found a book when I was a kid that really resonated with me, and that book is called The Turbulent Term of Tyke by Jean Kemp. And I used to absolutely adore this book. It is very short, because apparently I'm not quite ready to read any of the long books yet. So The Turbulent Term of Tyke is about a child called Tyke Tyler, funnily enough. Tyke Tyler and their best friend Danny are constantly in trouble. They're always getting into trouble. And basically, this is the story of when Tyke Tyler decides that they're going to try and be good and also try and keep Danny out of trouble, and hilarity ensues. If you've read this book before, you will know that there is a massive plot twist right at the very end that... I don't know if you saw it coming. I didn't see it coming when I first read it. So, we're going to reread it, see how obvious the plot twist is, and also how I feel about this book, reading it as a 30-year-old human.
Why must you chew everything?
Okay, I've got a blanket, I've got the book, let's go. Okay. So first thing I've realised that I didn't know is that this is part of a series. And I've read none of the other books in the series, so maybe I have, I don't know. Maybe this is the only one that stuck out in my mind. So, before we've even started, we have this absolute gem on the acknowledgements page. Very apt, because that's the sort of thing you'd find in a in a Christmas cracker, and it is nearly Christmas now, so. Ooh, we got a whole page in before it was vaguely racist. That's nice. When was this published? Okay, this was first published in 1977. No excuse for racism. don't know if you can tell, but I just woke up. I stopped reading Turbulent Time of Tyke Tyler at about 8 PM last night, because I decided I wanted to rewatch Killing Eve, because I was sent the books to review, and I finished one and I'm partway through the other, so I decided to do that instead and ended up staying up monstrously late. It's now probably lunchtime, and Kylo has been getting very annoyed with me because I've just been leaving him in his little cage. But we will hopefully finish this today. I'm almost halfway through, so that's going to be today's plan. Kylo is sat watching Diagnosis Murder. Just as an FYI, this guy loves Diagnosis Murder, he loves the theme tune, so it's on in the background, so if you hear any, like, weirdness, it's that. Right, I'm on page 81, and Tyke Tyler has found themselves in the headmaster's office, and there's a whole bit here that says, he reached out to the shelf above him, got down a cane and stood bending it backwards and forwards. I trembled so hard that it hurt the inside of my knees. Not the cane, please. I forgot they used to hit kids at school. I forgot that. Thankfully never when I was there, but I forgot that. Oh, mate. Schools were the worst. Chapter 12. So earlier on in the book, Tyke had stolen some some practice papers for a verbal test that all the kids had to do at school, because Danny, the best friend, has a speech impediment, and Tyke was worried that Danny wouldn't be able to go to a comprehensive school with everyone else at the end of the year. Only Tyke has done so well that they've now been put forward to go to the grammar school, and they're really quite upset about it, because the whole point was so that they could stay with all their friends, and like Danny would be there and all of that kind of thing. But I'm just on chapter 12, and Tyke's dad is a local politician, and they are now having a row over the fact that Tyke has been offered this place at grammar school, and the dad is a socialist politician who doesn't believe in grammar school. There's a whole bit here that just says, you know you'll never have to go to that school because Dad will never let you go to that sort of place. He doesn't believe in privilege, and that place is so privileged, even saints and millionaires have a hard time getting in. Mum will never manage to change his mind, so just keep quiet and it'll all blow over. And I think sometimes I forget that this is from the 70s. I think because now I'm a lot older and I'm reading this, I'm seeing like a lot of politics in it that I wouldn't have picked up before. Very interesting. Do you mind
tough.
I've had this book since I was a child, and you've landed on it once and chewed it already. Be gone with you. Be gone. So, book is finished. The big reveal of Tyke Tyler, what their real name is and who they really are, comes on page 114, which is like right at the end. And then the final chapter is narrated by one of Tyke's teachers, and sort of does a what happened after, because as you can see from the front cover, Tyke decides to climb a roof and ring a bell, and it's not safe, so ends up in hospital. And it's really interesting because the big spoiler alert is that Tyke Tyler is a girl, and her name is Theodora, and Tyke is just a nickname. And when I first read this as a kid, I was amazed at the fact that Tyke Tyler was a girl, because I myself am a girl, and I had not had very many books where girls were... Do you mind? Books where girls were assertive and brave and did things like climb bell towers. This was published in the 1970s, and whether or not Tyke is trans and identifies as a boy, or is just a tomboy and identifies as a girl but enjoys more masculine things, I don't know, that's never really explained. But it's very interesting that this came out in the 70s, and I'm reading it now when there's lots of discussion about like gender fluidity and what gender means, and having things that are like society dictates are girly or for boys, you know. So that's very interesting. And I'm just on the afterword, and the afterword literally starts with Tyke Tyler is quite a character, dominant, aggressive, something of a bully, the best climber in school, dismissive of all girls. All attributes, it is easy to assume, are more applicable to boys than to girls. When this book was first published in 1977, it came as quite a shock for readers to find out at the end what sex Tyke was. They'd made their own assumptions. Which I think is a really... I don't know what I think, but I think it's good. What are you on about? Bit that says, the climax of the story is when Tyke climbs the old school bell tower to ring the school bell for the first time in 30 years. A sudden and dramatic climax as the tower collapses. What an end to 8 years in primary school, but can you sympathise with Tyke's determination to stick with her nickname? What does it matter? Does it matter what sex Tyke is? Does it affect how you feel about her and the story? She says here that she wrote Tyke Tyler out of concern for children vulnerable in our society, on one hand overpressured and over-assessed, and on the other hand neglected and battered. I wrote Tyke for the rebel child at home, outwardly conforming but ready to speak up when driven. Yeah. So there we go. In some ways this is really ahead of its time, because at no point do we have pronouns for Tyke Tyler. They're not at any point referred to as she until like literally right at the very end when it's someone else narrating. And apart from mentions that Tyke isn't their real name, it's not really touched upon at all that Tyke Tyler is a girl called Theodora. And so you've got like that whole thing where, you know, the gender conformities are being challenged in that way. And you've also got Danny, the character of Danny has a speech impediment and also has like learning disabilities. And even when I was at school in like the 90s and the noughties, those were things that weren't ever really like publicised or talked about. Like kids that had like additional needs and stuff were kind of hidden away, and the fact that this came out in the 70s and there is a character with, you know, learning disabilities in it is, you know, I think that's really interesting, because I don't read an awful lot of books set in schools anymore, but the ones that I have read haven't featured many characters with learning disabilities, and yeah. So I think it's ahead of its time for those reasons, but also it's kind of a little bit set in its time as well, because it mentions the whole caning of children, and it mentions, like, the class system, like, Tyke's dad doesn't want them to go to grammar school, and of course there is a little bit of racism right at the beginning, because although the author is quite happy to get rid of gender norms, they don't like Asians. As to whether or not I'd still like this if I picked it up for the first time today, I think I probably would. It is very funny, and... What are you doing? It is very funny, and watching, like, my niece and nephew play, like, a lot of the things they say and things they do are in this, and I think it's kind of a timeless classic. So yes, Turbulent Term of Tyke Tyler. Still enjoy it, would recommend. You're gonna say bye? You're gonna say bye? Kylie, you're gonna say bye? No? Okay.